Team Taz, my guy, Willie Hobbs, the newest member of Team Taz, the big fella, the powerhouse, just put a beating on Lee Johnson. I mean, and he called it, he just kept saying it's business. It didn't seem like it was business. That looked personal. He put a beating on that kid. And it was to the point where you felt bad for Lee at points in the match. Go ahead, SPD, take it away. Tell me what are your thoughts on this, man?
I love that. So I guess we're going to be rebranding him as Powerhouse Hobbs, and I think that's an outstanding name for him. And nothing against the Will Hobbs, but the Powerhouse Hobbs just makes him even more tough. I loved this photo right here, supporting the orange and black, the new get up, and very Taz-esque, with the cutoff shirt like that.
I liked that.
So this is exactly what needed to happen. He has a new look, a new attitude, and he looked very polished in the ring. Even though it was a complete beatdown, he looked very comfortable in the ring. And being such a green performer, this is a perfect fit. More and more that I am seeing this week after week, it's just an outstanding fit with Team Taz, and exactly the way he should have been booked after the turn last week. And the orange and black trunks and everything, it was great finish. And after the match is even more to talk about. But what did you think of the match first before we dive into what happened after?
Yeah, this is what I was calling for. Like, as soon as I saw what happened, as soon as Hobbs joined Team Taz, I was like, all right, let's embrace the squash match. Let's just bring it in. Let's make Will Hobbs, because really, again, the guy is such a natural baby face, right? His story, where he came from, how hard he fought to get to where he is. Like, you want to root for him. But the more you put him in these situations, right, where he's beating down guys who are a third his size and humiliating people and jawing with the crowd the whole time, the more you're gonna start to naturally start to hate the guy.
Yeah.
And I think that it's good that they're playing off of maybe conflicted emotions of Hobbs. He obviously struggled to make that decision. It took him some time.
Right.
So I like that they're doing that, right? But to me, this was exactly what it needed to be. And that's why it gets an elite, right?
Yeah.
Was it this 5-star classic match? Absolutely not, right? It wasn't supposed to be. This was supposed to be a showcase for Powerhouse Hobbs, and it was a showcase for Powerhouse Hobbs. That said, really, this was the framework for a showcase of Team Taz and Taz in general. The post-match interview and segment that Taz had, and again, I don't want to overstate things, because I don't want to get into the habit of just like saying everything is the most memorable moment and whatever. But for Team Taz, they've had some moments in the course of their group's history already. They've had some real moments that have been defining moments that you think like, wow, they're making a statement. This was a turning point for that group. This was a turning point for Team Taz. This night was a turning point for the way that I think we're going to approach this group. Between Taz's promo and segment with Cody and Ricky Stark's promo later on in the night, this was truly, you achieved something that few people can in one show. And that is establishing a group's power, establishing a group's mission, and establishing a group's framework to get that mission completed going forward. These guys are not going to lay down. Taz has made it known that he's ready. And I mean, you add the personal side to this now, SPD. I know that this was one of those moments, this back and forth segment between Cody and Taz, two guys that you absolutely admire and respect on the mic. Give me your thoughts on that, because I have a feeling this is one of those where you had chills and you maybe were stopping to pause and want to catch more. This is two guys that I know you really hold in high regard on the mic.
Yeah, you touched on some really heavy topics and some heavy points there, and it was outstanding points of view. before I dive into it, that brought me a good idea. We should, on our Dynamite download, do 2 separate polls this week. Who do you think is the best on the mic in AEW, and who is the best faction in AEW?
I love
I mean,
it.
you're talking that, so stay tuned for that. We're definitely going to be doing that. I mean, we got for faction, we got Team Taz, we got the Nightmare Family, we got the Dark Order, we got the Elite, we got so many. Who's the best? The Death Triangle. You go. I mean, and then you got on
We're
the
gonna have
mic.
to,
I mean,
yeah. I mean, the inner
this
circle.
is
You didn't even
Inner
mention.
Circle. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
how quickly. I'm not forgetting about them. Definitely not forgetting about them. But I mean, Cody and Taz right here, two of the best on the mic in AEW and in the biz. And the past couple months with Taz, Team Taz is skyrocketing. Their stock is
Unbelievable.
skyrocketing
Yeah.
faster than anyone else on the show. And at first I was like, I mean, I'm believing this. This whole thing is so believable with them cutting the mic,
It
with the
was
commentators grabbing the other mic, him yelling at Justin Roberts, and then finally Cody coming out with the headset. Like, it was 100% believable. I'm like, is this real? Is this an unscripted? And then I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time we've seen Taz put hands on anybody in all of, ever since he's been in AEW.
Yeah, for
And
him to throw on the Taz mission
it
on
makes
Cody.
sense. And, because to cut that low to his son and to make it even more real, it made sense for him. He's not, you can't go away just kind of with your head hung low, you got to fight back. And I thought overall, this was an outstanding segment that was unexpected for sure. You're talking about the FTW belt, and I know Cody on Twitter and everything with social media was like, he doesn't get it. He doesn't like this belt and all that. And I kind of agree with that, but now you're going to kind of make it more meaningful, because it's just this belt that's been around Brian Cage's waist, who is an absolute beast and machine, but he hasn't defended it. He hasn't done much with it. It's just this, essentially, the ring that MJF wears that you kind of see sometimes, and it doesn't really mean anything. And then now they're going to bring some meaning to this belt next week. And it's I love that line by Cody, how his son Hook, Taz's son Hook, is training with him and not Taz. And that was just the, tipping point. If I was in Taz's shoes, I'd be throwing bows too, left and right, man. This was a fire segment.
Cody went for the jugular, right where the neck tattoo is. He went right there for it, man. That was something else. Honestly, it's not what I was expecting out of Cody.
No,
he pulled no punches in that one. But maybe that's because Taz has been such a loudmouth on Twitter, man. Oh my gosh. I mean, there's only so many times the bear can get poked before the bear lashes out, right? So
that's true.
I mean, I understand Cody's anger and how he kind of snapped back at Taz there. And for me, I never looked at the FTW belt that way, but I get where you're coming from. It's more of like an ornament at this point. For me, I was an ECW fan growing up in a lot of ways. I snuck and watched tapes and stuff like that when I was younger, and before YouTube was around. And I always had a lot of respect for Taz and the legacy that he's had. And then you follow Taz's career after ECW, and you see what he's done as far as podcasting. His commentary work is incredible. Anytime that he's on the commentary booth, honestly, he's one of my favorites on the commentary booth.
I agree. Me too.
He adds so much to it. I really love his approach to commentary, and I think that that is a future for him if he ever wanted that. But for me, I always kind of had respect on the FTW title. I always kind of put that because of what he did, because he's not wrong. There were countless battles that we could go back and watch Taz defend the FTW championship. So that said, if you're Cody and you're looking at it through the lens of management, as he put on tonight, it doesn't mean anything in the sense of AEW. It's not a recognized title.
Right.
They don't defend it. And this is where I have to say, if you're going to be the FTW champion, my idea is that belt should be defended every single time that guy is in the ring. Make it a belt where, I mean, in your own way, it could be like a extreme championship belt where any rules go, but anytime that person is involved in a match, they lose, they hand over the belt. It's always defended, always defended. But to me, it's like, if you are the FTW champion, you have to, it's a mindset, right? Taz talks about the FTW mindset. Well, that's like, you got to bet on yourself. Every single day, you got to bet on yourself if you're the FTW champion.
That's true.
That's got to be what you represent. And I feel like if they put that emphasis on the title, if they put that respect on the title, where, listen, this is the only title that's defended every single week or every single time the champion's in the ring, that I think will help distinguish the belt. And I think it'll also help, because you and I have talked about this. This roster is so stacked.
Yes.
There are so many guys, and you talk about the different people all over social media. I know you guys as fans, you have so many different people that are your favorite, right? That you think are underrated or underappreciated, who don't get a title shot. I could rattle off 10, 15 guys right now.
I agree.
That I would love to be going after the world championship or the TNT title, but there's only 2 belts.
That's right.
There's only 2. And so if you get the FTW championship and you actually recognize that as something that is worth and defended, like you said, SPD, defended, you start having something for other guys to work towards. Like if Brody Lee's not in the TNT championship picture or the world championship picture, put him in that. If Lance Archer is not a guy who you feel you're going to put the world championship on, he had his opportunity. You're not going to get that, right?
Yeah.
He still is somebody who should be on your show every single week, and he should.
I agree.
Feared. Have him go after the FTW, right? There's so many people that I could rattle off, right? I can do that, but that's because this roster is stacked. Having another title that would be recognized is not a bad idea. It's really not. I think that Taz, we might like in 6-8 months from now, we might be rewinding to this show and thanking Taz for beating Cody's ass and demanding that they put respect on the FTW title, because we need that. We need another title in this country.